The narrator explains that life is full of moments that seem ordinary, moments so quiet and unremarkable that we almost never notice them. Yet sometimes, within those silent moments, the world can tilt entirely, and fate can hinge on a single, almost invisible choice. This is the story of Ethan, a man whose life had always moved in invisible rhythms, unnoticed by co-workers, strangers, and even friends. A man who existed without leaving marks on the world, who woke, worked, walked, and slept with the same quiet consistency day after day. He was not unhappy. He was not sad in the dramatic way novels describe. He was numb, resigned, existing in a routine that demanded neither attention nor passion. And so, on a gray evening, as the sun dipped behind clouds and the city below moved with its usual indifferent pace, Ethan descended to the subway platform, joining a slow-moving crowd of commuters whose faces were blank with habit. The air smelled faintly of dust and metal, and the hum of distant trains filled the space with a hollow rhythm. Ethan's eyes were unfocused, his thoughts elsewhere, when a tiny, almost invisible shift in the scene caught his attention. A phone lying face up near the edge of the platform, glowing faintly and vibrating softly, as if it were waiting for someone to notice it. At first, Ethan barely registered it. Someone would pick it up, someone always does. He looked around. No one was near it. The platform was quieter than usual. A small, silent space had opened up, and in that emptiness, the phone seemed to pulse in the dim light. And then he imagined two versions of the next few seconds. In the first, he steps away, lets the phone sit, boards his train, and goes home, returning to his invisible, quiet life. The image felt familiar, safe, comfortable. The other version required engagement, picking it up, speaking, acting, stepping into someone else's moment. That image felt heavy, demanding, and uncertain. Ethan hesitated. The seconds stretched, long enough to feel as though the universe was holding its breath. The narrator explains that 5 seconds can be enough to alter the course of someone's life, even if the one making the choice believes it will change nothing. And then, almost automatically, Ethan reached down, lifted the phone, slid it into his pocket, and convinced himself it was trivial, meaningless, just another unremarkable movement in a life defined by small, quiet gestures. The train arrived, and he stepped inside as the doors closed behind him with a hollow click, and the moment seemed over, but it was only beginning.
Years later, Thomas's life looked exactly as it always had, which should have comforted him, but instead filled him with a quiet unease he could not name. Nothing was wrong, yet nothing felt right. Opportunities passed him without resistance. Conversations ended before they began. His days felt full but empty, busy but untouched. One evening, as he sat alone in the same chair, surrounded by the same walls, a sudden realization struck him. Not loudly, not painfully, but clearly. The knock had stopped. He stood up, heart beating faster than it had in years, and walked to the door. For the first time, he placed his hand on the handle. The narrator slows here, allowing the silence to stretch, because this is the moment where understanding arrives. Thomas opened the door to an empty hallway. No footsteps, no presence, nothing waiting. And in that stillness, the truth settled in. The door had never been about who was outside. It had been about who he was willing to become. Life had offered him a moment, then another, then many more, each one quieter than the last, until eventually it stopped asking. The narrator closes gently, leaving the listener with a weight that is not heavy, but real, reminding them that life does not chase us forever. It knocks, it waits, and when we decide not to answer, it does not argue. It simply moves on.